Hey, this is Pilot Steve with Pilot.Dog.
Clear prop.
For those of you out there who are interested in aviation or flying, I know there's some pilots out there. Or maybe you've always wanted to fly. You'd like to know more. Here's a little video that I made, just kind of introduce you to all the different things that happen in flight. Now, this was a quick 40-minute flight or so that I compressed down. Just give you the highlights so I could explain what happens. So we just started the plane up, looking at the instruments, making sure everything's fine, and taxiing out down to the end of the runway to get our clearance to take off. Again, making sure everything's fine, everything looks good. I've already got permission from the tower to take off, so the runway's mine, we're good to go. And now, once we get lined up on the runway, you give it full throttle, and you wait till you get enough speed so you can get enough lift and you can get off the runway up into the air. And here we go. Pretty soon we're going to be lifting off. There we go. Up, up, and away. This plane that we have has a pretty good rate of climb. Down near the ground we can climb about 1,500 feet a minute. It gets to about 1,000 feet a minute. It's pretty quick. It's pretty much, as you can see, a nose-up attitude. And right after takeoff, there's a lot of stuff happening. I mean, you got to look out for traffic. You got your nose way up in the air, so it's hard to see forward. You got to talk to the tower, and you're checking your maps, looking at that iPad that you see that shows me other traffic in the sky. So I'm looking at that, trying to get the position where they are. In the case of this departure, we had to take off and then make a climbing left 180-degree turn. So we're turning back on ourselves and climbing at the same time. I'm talking to the tower at this time and looking for traffic. You can see my head is moving non-stop because there's just so much stuff to focus on. And they're handing me off to the next controller. And there's the airport down there. That was a beautiful day. I loved it. And still climbing, trying to get out of the area. And get away from the airport because that's, where everybody's coming in. So I like to get away from the traffic. And I'm talking to the next approach controller at this point. Still gaining some altitude and setting up all the instruments. Things start to slow down a little bit once you get up into more of a cruise flight. And I can talk about some of the things that we're seeing here. The iPad, as I told you, shows air traffic. It's a moving map. I can zoom in. I can touch on an airport and discover weather, all sorts of things. When you see the other control yoke over there to the right, the one that's in front of Pam, you'll see a little lime green tape there. That's my high-tech keep the glove box door closed. I gotta fix that at some point. And then that box that you see, come on Steve, turn your head to the right. There's a little white box that's on the window to the right. Oh, here I'm distracted by the clouds. Just a couple little tiny wispy clouds. I thought they were pretty. Anyway, we just got a glimpse of that box on the right window. It's called a Stratus. There it is. There it is. It's called the Stratus, and it receives information from air traffic control and plots our position very, very, very accurately with GPS. And that's what it is communicating with the iPad and transmitting data. It's also getting data from some of the instruments in the plane. In fact, some of the instruments you can see, there's one that's kind of blue and red right there in front of me. It looks like a compass. And that gives me attitude reference. And it's kind of like, if you've ever seen any of the high-tech airplanes that have all the fancy digital readouts, that's what this does for me. Altitude, airspeed, direction, GPS settings, horizon, all that stuff. And then on the right side of my control yoke, right in front of me, this thing has a bunch of cyan bars there. And that's an engine monitor, and that's monitoring every aspect of the engine, each cylinder, cylinder temperature, exhaust gas temperatures, oil temp, oil pressure, tack, propeller rotation, everything that you can imagine. And the beautiful thing about that instrument is if everything is going perfectly and the engine's running fine, there's no alerts. But if something pops up and needs my attention, it will alert me. Now here's a part of flight where I finally, things calm down and I get to look out the window for a minute and just enjoy the scenery. Yeah, most of the time you'll see my head moving all the time. I'm looking for something, checking something, doing something, but every once in a while I get to just chillax a little bit and just enjoy the view. You see me reach for the pen, that means that air traffic control is talking to me and they've given me some frequency that I need to change the radio to, or they've given me some instruction of something to listen out for or watch out for. Generally, if they give me a radio frequency and I need to change the radio, you'll see me reach up to the instrument panel. But here's another just moment I get to enjoy the view out the window. So with my left hand there, I'm grabbing the control yoke. That's the push-to-talk switch. So I'm talking to one of the air traffic controllers at this point, and you see my hand reach up. I'm changing the radio frequency in the radio. They've probably given me a handoff to the next controller. So then I'm going to make contact with them, and we continue on our way. They're following us on radar, and everybody knows where we are, and they're also advising me of any other traffic in the area. So I'm talking to them again. This is kind of a mid-flight, mid-cruise, and we're at altitude. It's a beautiful day. So now it's just going to be getting handed off controller to controller and looking for any traffic, any air traffic that might be in the area. And I'm constantly watching that iPad to see where they are. And again, you know, just a moment just to look out the window and just marvel at how much open land there really is. This is, what, Middle Eastern North Carolina that I'm flying over here. Now, if there ever was an engine problem and I had to land, there are places that I can set the plane down safely. So I'm not too worried about that. You get a little freaky when you get over the mountains at night. That gets a little edgy, but this is perfectly fine during the day. You can almost see Pam sitting next to me. We don't have any dogs on this flight. We're just flying home after lunch. And she was nodding off. And here we are, where the airport is dead ahead, and we're getting ready to land. So we're going to be making a lot more turns here, and I don't know if you can tell it or not, but we're getting closer to the ground. You know, we're coming down in altitude, getting set up for landing. So here we're making a turn into the traffic pattern. You know, what's really funny is that it's kind of a learned skill, but when you're flying, you don't need to lean. You can just sit up straight and the plane turns, and you turn with the plane. It seems like every new student, myself included, did that in the beginning. You know, we all kind of plane turned and we all leaned into the turn, and you just don't need to do that. So I think at this point we are on what's called the base leg for landing, and now we're turning onto the final approach. So we're going to be getting lined up straight with the runway and come in for landing. You can see the runway. It's right over my iPad right now, and we're going to get lined up with it, still making a turn to get perfectly lined up with the runway. Reducing the speed. I've got the flaps. Those are the things on the wings when you're flying. Before you land, you see them come down. So they give me a little bit more lift with less airspeed, and so I can fly a little bit slower and not worry about falling out of the sky. So slowing down a little bit more, adding some more flaps, lined up with the runway. And you can't see it just yet, but to the left of the runway there's a set of two lights, a red light and a white light if you're on the glide slope. That's, you know, if you're on the perfect path coming into land. You can just barely see the white light right there. So if you only see one white light, then you know I'm right on the glide slope. And now we see two white lights. I'm a little bit high, but this particular plane, when I pull the power back, it will sink like a rock, so that is fine. I'm getting ready to touch down. Got the nose, pulling back the nose just a little bit. You'll hear it chirp when it, there you go. Chirps when it hits the ground, and then we just roll out, let the plane slow down, and then it's turn off the runway. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I just wanted to share a little bit with you about this, what happens flying the plane. I show you so much of what happens with the dogs. And this is probably the last time I'll do this, and hope you enjoyed it. You can be a part of our dog rescue team. Just visit us at Pilot.Dog and become a patron. You can pledge as little as $1 a month. You can set a cap on how much you want to give each month. It doesn't matter. Any amount helps. Please help us save dogs.